AOC and Bernie Sanders spent over $200,000 on private jets to take them around to events where they get to fight the oligarchy, where they get to blame rich people for everybody's problems, including their own, even though they are rich people. Especially Bernie, of course, who is famous for trying to justify how he could be a Democrat socialist owning multiple homes and not really helping anyone, just complaining a lot and talking about how the oligarchy is taking over the U.S. government and has been since like the early 90s. But let's go to this article over at Fox News by Deidre Heavey, Andrew Mark Miller, and Cameron Cawthorn. Champagne Socialists. It's a great name. Champagne Socialists. Sanders and AOC spotted boarding private jet on Fighting Oligarchy tour. Sanders' campaign has spent over $221,000 on private jets during the first quarter of 2025. Now, this is important. This really is actually a pretty big deal, and I'll explain why here in a second, but let's get to the story first. Senator Bernie Sanders and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez chartered a private jet worth up to a staggering $15,000 an hour for several West Coast stops on their Fighting Oligarchy tour. Sanders boarded the luxury Bombardier Challenger private jet at the Meadows Field Airport in Bakersfield, California on Tuesday afternoon, according to a photo captured by a source on the ground and shared exclusively with Fox News. Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez, whom the source also spotted boarding the private jet, spoke at the Fighting Oligarchy event in Bakersfield just hours earlier. Flight records reveal the jet landed at Sacramento Mather Airport on Tuesday evening, which is about a 20-minute drive to Folsom, California, where the self-identified Democrat socialists hosted their second rally of the day. The jet, Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez were seen boarding, made stops in Salt Lake City and Boise prior to landing in Bakersfield, according to flight records. The arrival dates match the duo's Fighting Oligarchy events in Salt Lake City and Nampa, which is about 25 miles from the Boise airport. In other words, yes, they're big, huge, honking hypocrites. But that's not new, okay? That's not new information to you. So you might ask, why am I telling you this? It's because this information needs to get to those who will never, ever hear it. You know, you have friends, family, loved ones, coworkers, whoever, neighbors, who, if they're getting their news from CNN or ESPN or whatever, MSNBC, then they're not getting this news. They're not hearing about this. And you need to be able to tell them this. You need to be able to say, look, they're calling it the Fighting Oligarchy tour. You got AOC going out there in jeans. I guess it's supposed to make her more relatable, right? And yet they're spending stupid money to get there because they know that they're going to be able to raise a lot more money off the suckers that are willing to donate at these events. That's how this works. That's politics. And it's not just Democrats that do it, it's Republicans. The difference, though, is that Democrats pretend like they're fighting the bad guys, which are the rich people, when they themselves are generally very, very rich. This also brings up, and the reason this is important, though, is it brings up a stark reality. This is the passing of the torch. Okay, Bernie Sanders has always taken some sort of morbid fascination with AOC, but this demonstrates that he is essentially trying to pass the torch. He had his chances. He couldn't make it. He was robbed twice. Both times he should have been the Democrat nominee. He should have beat Hillary Clinton. He should have beat Joe Biden. But the Democrat Party didn't want him for whatever reason. I think I know the reason, but that's a story for another day. But he's done. He's going to be in his 80s here soon, and as a result, he needs to pass the torch. And he's passing the torch. He is selected, or somebody is selected for him, perhaps, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. In other words, she's running for president in 2028, almost certainly. And I know it's a little bit too early to call it, but I don't think that they would be going around doing this, sticking their neck out to do it. Okay, they would rather get in front of big crowds and get press, even if it's going to ruin their credibility with their true base, the base that's actually semi-intelligent, the base that's semi-aware, and they're probably asking themselves, why are these people going around to, quote-unquote, fight the oligarchy, and yet, why aren't they driving I guess they wouldn't be driving a Tesla. Why are they driving a Prius or an electric vehicle or whatever, taking the bus? Something. Why are they spending all this money? Contributing to climate change and spending enough money just on private jets alone. to feed multiple families for a full year. What is the deal here? Why are they willing to do that? And it is because AOC's running. Bernie's got to take her under his wing, and he's got about 2 years max, maybe not even that long. We'll say he's got about a year in order to get her out to his people, get her introduced, help her to acquire some credibility and make it appear that she is definitely still or already more than just a former bartender, more than just a Justice Democrat. That's the organization that recruited her in the first place. He's trying to make AOC happen. And unfortunately, it looks like it's probably going to happen. Not because she's so good, but because the competition right now for the 2028 run is just so awful for the Democrats. The best way to stay on top of things that are happening in the world of finance is to listen to the experts. And no, I'm not talking about people like Jim Cramer. I'm talking about people like Jim Rickards, former CIA analyst. Jim Rickards, go to jdrucker.com/crisis, jdrucker.com/crisis, and get his newsletter because it's pretty dang awesome.